I grew up very close to North Dakota, about an hour away. And I grew up with a lot of music in my family, doing a lot of like marathons where people would run past, we'd all play music. And so at every family gathering, we would play music. And then since moving to Fargo, North Dakota, I've been going to a lot of the barn dances that have live music. And so that's really been my biggest thing in North Dakota that's new.
I grew up in Minnesota. Both my parents grew up here in North Dakota, and my dad has a huge appreciation for the land. And every summer, I think we get about 500 trees delivered to our house, and he's collected conifers my whole life. And this one is supposed to represent a snake conifer, which is a newer one that he's gotten into. And it's kind of one of those trees where I will point it out to him and say, that one doesn't look like it's doing too well. But it's actually just the way that it looks. And I've just found to really appreciate them and the idea of what it can look like when it gets older. And then just the appreciation of learning about trees and native plants growing up.
Awesome.
Well, this is a little scene somewhere in Fargo, but this is like my favorite place in Fargo, the most in touch with nature I've ever been here.
So I've made a rock climbing wall. The first time the place I went climbing was in Fargo, North Dakota, and I've kind of just fallen in love with rock climbing because of that.
North Dakota was the first city where we were married. That's where our family got started. And I kind of I bounced around a lot of different jobs and industries, and finally I came back to school and started a whole new life pursuing art.
So my family has a lake house on Medora that like my great grandparents parents built, and then they built off of that. And every summer around 4th of July, me and my family just kind of, the whole extended family goes up there, and we go out on the lake while the fireworks go. We paddle boat to Bear Island, and we just kind of sit there together. And this is a view from when I was helping my grandma clean it up before the family came over, and it's just 6 a.m, coffee in hand, just sitting there watching the sunrise.
A lovely moment. Thank you.
When I think of North Dakota, my main ideas ideas of why I love the state come from the time that I've spent outside the state. I spent some time in Texas and Missouri. It was about a year or so worth of time that I was out of state. And while I was in Texas, I was at a sort of boarding facility where I wasn't choosing my own meals. And the one thing that I wanted the most, even though my family makes homemade meals my entire childhood, was pheasant. That it was the one thing that I knew I wouldn't get for a long time. And I went to Texas right in the spring, and it was right we still had snow in North Dakota, and they were very much in hot spring months, and it made me miss North Dakota summers so much. That cool sit around the campfire, talking with friends, having that really close-knit community of small people, and on top of that, my family. So the thing that got me into art was that I've always been an artistic kid, but my dad really pushed me into art. And when I first started, he told me that I had to pick a signature so that it was consistent from when I was a little kid to when I was quote unquote grown up and a real artist. So the first letter of my name is D, and then I have 3 siblings, and I've always been an animal lover, so my signature became a paw print with my first initial and my 3 siblings as my little toes.
Farming and giving thanks to everything, I guess.
Drawing a koi fish. Koi fish symbolize determination, perseverance, and strength.
Nice.
When I'm at my lowest points, I draw them, or I look at them, see the details in them. And one day, I'm gonna get a tattoo of a koi fish, so that I'll always have it on me to show that no matter what, I'm still here and I'm still pushing forward.
You mean the time when I managed to step out of my dorm to try and grab something and nearly got blown off my feet by 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts?
Yes.
So you asked for a moment, and I'm not giving a specific one, but just kind of growing up in the country, just very many moments every single day of just seeing wheat fields, wheat upon wheat. So
I really like the way you did the wheat. That's beautiful.
My tile has a lot of flowers. This is actually the state flower, and the sun, because even though it's like flat here and kind of boring, I love all the flowers and the sunshine that we have.
Mine is a ton of flowers because even though the winters get pretty gloomy around here, the summer is what makes it worth it with all the flowers. And so I put a bunch of hearts because it really is home. Well, this is a little scene somewhere in Fargo, but this is like my favorite place in Fargo, the most in touch with nature I've ever been here.
My tile around, or my story around my tile, is the state flower. It's just a North Dakota prairie rose. They're normally like hot pink, and I just think they're a really beautiful color. Along with it started off as like an American crow because we have a lot of like crows in North Dakota. You can find them around barns and whatnot. But I think growing up in North Dakota, every trip you take or every field trip you take in elementary school, you'll see kind of an array of birds of North Dakota and an array of flowers, and I think wildlife and agriculture and horticulture, it's all like North Dakota is based on that. And I think it's with tiles like this, it can be really beautiful. And it's like when we have this open plain, I think when you see like this bright pink flower, I think it adds to North Dakota.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay, hi, my name is Angelina. I grew up here in the Fargo-Moorhead area, and one of my biggest memories is going to the little like island park, Mississippi River that like goes north with my mother. I feel like because I grew up here, I only know that it's like, or as a kid, I guess I viewed everything in like sunshine, rainbows, and then I kind of like grew up and like these are just like really bad moments, but like while I've been here in Fargo, especially in college, I've met so many people that I felt like a breath of fresh air, and it felt like I've been like inhaling like flowers around them and like just changing my perspective and like uplifting me, and you never know where you're gonna be next, especially in Fargo. This is like kind of like a house, and this is sunshine, and I feel like the more people I meet, I feel like the more positive experience I have, and like Fargo feels like home at the end of the day. And then I am 21 years old, and then this is like Island Park. When I was like 16, I used to go to Island Park with my friend, and we would just, I don't know, we would just kind of sit there in the parking lot or like watch movies or like just hang out. And the fair every year, we would go to the Red River Valley Fair, and we would go down the slides, like me and my brother. And I also am really into skating, especially Skateland. It's called Skate City now because there's a new owner, but I've recently gotten back into it. And these are also the railroad tracks. So my mother, every time we like go under a railroad, we say the same, like if a train is going by and we like go under like underpass, we make a wish, I guess. I don't know, all my wishes have come true so far, so I believe in it. And then there used to be a restaurant, my favorite restaurant, called Golden Corral, and they have this like chocolate fountain, which was really nice. And then this is like a flower with a bunch of A's that kind of represent like me and my family, and then 80 initials. And yeah, it's just like a breath of fresh air.
I love this very complete story. There's a lot packed into this tile. Thank you so much.
My little story here is that I'm from the city, from St. Paul, and where there's a lot of maybe chaos, or like I have so much love for it. But my time in North Dakota, I guess, has been very much so like a kind of breath of air, fresh air, in the way that like it's a lot more tame, calm, and yeah, I don't know. I went to school here, so there's some books, and the wind, as it's very windy here. So yeah, That's nice to
I did a dragonfly because growing up, my mom always said that dragonflies symbolize like new beginnings, and coming to a place that I've never been before was a new beginning.
I came up here for college, and then my freshman year of college, I started working at an ice cream shop in downtown Fargo, Silver Lining Creamery, and that job has gotten me through college, and my boss is essentially a second mom to me at this point, and I love it. I'm gonna really miss working at my little ice cream shop.
So basically, this is obviously like a cross on like the back, and then this is like a monstrance or whatever, because I'm Catholic or whatever, so like we believe like that's actually Jesus or whatever present there. So I just like have grown my faith, I think, since being in Fargo and at the Newman Center here. So that's just, I guess, what it represents.
So my tile is supposed to kind of look like a shelter belt. Do you know what those are?
No.
So basically, after the Dust Bowl, like the wind had taken a lot of it like eroded the top layer of the soil, and so everything was dry. And so they planted these rows of trees kind of like in the middle of fields or like in between fields to kind of block the wind and like make sure that all the soil isn't blowing away. But when I moved from New Rockford, North Dakota to Cooperstown, there was about 3 weeks where we couldn't move into our new house yet. So one of our like people from church let us stay with them at their farm, and so my younger sisters and I would go out and like play in the shelter belts. There's like an apple tree in one of them, and so yeah.
It's wonderful. I love that story.
So it's really just about the kind of skies that we get here, wide open skies, beautiful sunsets. You can see a lot of stars at night, and then most people kind of think that North Dakota is super flat, and it is super flat, but we do have rolling hills, if you know where to look for them, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what like the lines represent.
It's a story from my childhood. When I was little, I lived in an area that was really swampy, and there was this foresty area that flooded every spring with a couple of feet of water. And so me and my friend, who was my neighbor, we would take a plastic kiddie pool and we'd put it into the flood water, and we'd take a giant stick and we'd push ourselves across the flood water in our kiddie pool boat to get to another house, which was where, with another friend, we were hiding a bunch of stray cats from all our parents.
This is based off of a painting I did and gave to my mom, and then a separate one I gave to my grandma for Christmas. It's kind of this like abstracted tree scene. So there's like, you know, trees in the foreground, trees in the middle ground, trees in the background, and then sky, some funny branches, and then, yeah, it's very flat and kind of abstract, and I like that.
Okay, so I'm from a farm family, so I depicted a farm scene in North Dakota where we've got family and community, and then cornfields extending out into the sunrise. North Dakota is also in the migratory bird corridor, so I've got the birds flying in the sky with a rough depiction of the northern lights in the upper right-hand corner. And then in the lower left corner, just some landscape kind of depicting the Badlands.
Lovely.
When I think of North Dakota, I think of NDSU. And I thought of something that represents NDSU well is Rollherd.
What is it?
Rollherd.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so when I think of North Dakota, I think of like my drives home through just a little bit of North Dakota prairie, and it's just very flat, but you've got like the huge clouds and then the strong wind with the little trees that are bent over.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love those little trees. They're persisting.
Okay, so this is the North Dakota Army National Guard patch, and that's one of the most influential things that has happened to me since coming to North Dakota.
Cool. I like that insignia.
I grew up in North Dakota. My family was big farmers, and we had a little campsite out at Devil's Lake. So it was kind of just my memories of childhood, is going out and fishing and farming with my grandparents.
Lovely. What are the little buildings in the background there?
There's a couple grain bins, and then the tall one is an elevator, which kind of makes up the North Dakota skyline because there's not much else.
So this is a dairy cow because you
each of my grandparents were dairy farmers and their parents before them and going back a ways. And then I did a brand that isn't really like a real brand, it's just the first initials of each of my grandparents' last names to indicate that that's who the dairy farmers were.
Yeah, so I have traveled in North Dakota only really on I-94. So when I think of the drive, I think of power lines, I think of streams and bodies of water along the highway and prairies, and then I think of bison because of North Dakota State University, and the fish kind of symbolize the people and the movement of cars across the state.
This is my tile representing North Dakota. My experience in North Dakota has just been coming for college. I always see bunnies on campus, and I used to chase them, and now when I'm on my runs I see them all the time. And then the tree and the moon landscape kind of just encapsulates like my picturesque North Dakota. I love trees so much, and also the moon always just captures my attention when I'm here. And then the border kind of was going for like more of a North Dakota style of fashion and how I like view the style of people here.
My family is very like longtime residents of Carrington, North Dakota, and their land flooded one year, way before I was born, but it became a lake. And so every year we kind of like, we go to the lake all the time, basically lived out there. But in the spring I always try and take like a little swim in the lake. And it's always so cold, but it just feels so nice.
Yeah. When my great-grandma was alive, all of the grandkids would go out behind my grandma's house and pick crocuses because they were her favorite, and we'd end up giving her these huge bouquets of crocuses. And when she died, we ended up kind of doing that even after we'd give them to my grandma. And then recently we lost one of my cousins who was 18, and so we still do that in remembrance of all of our family members that have passed. And out there as a kid, I think I kind of got my love for weird dead things. And
my connection to North Dakota is through school and through NDSU. I came here to do clay, and as I toured, I just knew this was the place to be, and this was where I wanted to be. And my connection is all through clay and ceramics, and I feel at home here.
Okay, my tile is about the embodiment of male and female reproductive form. It's based on the Shiva Lingam, and some imagery that I used in art that I made in the past. But I really wasn't going with the connection to North Dakota or NDSU or the Hebron clay in the making of this, but I think that's probably been my mission since I started teaching here, is making a connection to the Hebron clay in North Dakota by getting the clay from Hebron for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time out on a farm near Valley City, North Dakota as a kid, and just when I think of North Dakota, I think of this immensely flat landscape, so wanting to celebrate that with the design and show. The fields more so than the sky, but this is it. This is my little farm, the Stack family farm.
This artist recalls seeing Painted Canyon for the first time and believes North Dakota's beauty is a hidden gem.
I grew up here in North Dakota my whole life, and Red River was basically my backyard. And I grew up kind of jumping between going from North Dakota and Minnesota in the summer times and heading to the lake.
So my tile has the art building on the left side of it and the rest of campus on the right side. And it's just showing how like the art people are very different than the people that go to real school, as some people say, and that like studying for a test and painting a picture are very different.
The otter is the mascot for the town Fergus Falls, Minnesota.
This is a duck flying in the North Dakota sky. And the reason I chose this is because there's not much scenery here, at least on the eastern part of North Dakota. So the sky kind of becomes the scenery.
So I'm actually not from here, but when I moved here, I'm a landscape photographer, and well, I was an architectural photographer, and then I moved here, and the land completely affected my own work. So I started listening to the landscape, and a lot of my work has to do with like ecology and place, and how the land. I just kind of listen to the land when I'm making my photos, and so I was looking at the tile, and I thought it was really beautiful. There was like all these marks in it that were made when you coated it with the slip. And so I thought, well, that's kind of like the land telling me what to do. So I just kind of traced the lines that you made, and then it makes this really beautiful landscape that I think kind of mirrors maybe tractor lines. I don't know. I mean, it could be like, what happens if we...
It kind of looks like the aerial maps of the farmsteads too. Yeah.
So the tile told me what to do.
So this is my hammock right off of the Red River by Oak Grove in Fargo. And the summer that I was like living in Fargo, North Dakota for the first time, I was really nervous that I wasn't gonna like have my friends, or like I'm scared that it was gonna be lonely, but I found a lot of peace with the Red River and like nature in Fargo, so it was very relaxing and I had a really good time. And
Okay, so this is my tile. On the outside I have a Norwegian texture, which a lot of us from Fargo are Norwegian, and you can tell, like, we all have the blonde hair, the blue eyes. But then in the middle I have the Fargo Theater sign, which is a staple in our community, and the downtown Fargo is like the home base for my relationship with my dad. Like, if me and my dad are gonna hang out, we're going downtown, going to breakfast, walking the market, and I just wanted to highlight that downtown rocks.
So my tile is a scene from my backyard, with this little like bistro set that we have in my playhouse that I grew up in. And I feel like even though it's not the most diverse of the North Dakota landscapes, it's been like just my favorite part of living here is like my mom's garden.
Tile I made because it's where clay comes from.
So I grew up in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota, in Wolford, North Dakota, which I wrote on the tile. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate kind of being from this area and how quiet and peaceful it can be. But some things that remind me of North Dakota is the long stretches of road that I would have to take every day just to get to like other places and like school and work. I think of the lots of fields, very few trees, and then I think of my mom's garden. So I added some vegetables and then some flowers she plants, and then of course the sunsets here have been some of the best I've ever seen. So just some things that reminded me of where I grew up.
So I was just thinking about things that remind me of North Dakota. And so growing up every summer, I used to like plant tiger lilies with my grandma in her garden. So that kind of became the main focal point. And then I think then I moved on to the zip code, the 58703, because that's my zip code of where I grew up. And then on the top I put 701 in parentheses because that's like the phone area code. But one of my friends, when we got out of high school, she got a tattoo on her arm and she kind of arranged it to look like God. And I was thinking, like, a lot of people do consider North Dakota to be like God's country with all the fields, and so I thought that'd be a nice touch. And then I included a sample of a dragonfly because my aunt really likes dragonflies, and I think about dragonflies whenever I see them in North Dakota now. And then I included a sample of a ladybug because that also reminds me of my grandma, because we used to just like catch them.
So my little tile is just inspired by the nature of North Dakota. I'm not originally from North Dakota, and so coming here, I'm from Colorado where there's a lot of mountains, so just coming here to North Dakota and finding appreciation in the prairie and the outdoor and the flowers, the wheat fields, the sunflower fields, just brings me a lot of peace.
For this tile right here, I made a sea turtle because I am very interested in wildlife, actually, and that's my major, which is sort of like natural history. And one of the things I've studied a lot is certain sea turtles off the coasts of the United States.
This tile is a representation of how nobody really knows what the hell is going on in North Dakota. But there's a lot of beauty, and there's a lot to be found and a lot to be learned.
I love it. Looks like an emerging butterfly or...
So this was a picture of the Tetons, and it was right after the freshman year of my college. I took a family trip with my family, and I kind of wanted to do this because it just reminded me of how much I cherish like family time. I don't know, after my freshman year of college, I kind of grew up a little bit, and yeah, I just cherish as much time as I can with my family.
A huge thanks to Dave Swenson, head of ceramics at NDSU, for mixing us all this Hebron clay, and Robin Reynolds, veteran potter of Bowman, North Dakota, for your special Wild Doug Schoolhouse Red Slip.